and start the webinar. Got it. That should bring people in. I'm going to. Okay, Madam Chair, we are streaming and people are coming in, so we can start the meeting at your convenience.
Okay, thank you very much, Cindy. It's 4 o'clock and I'd like to call the meeting to order. I'll start by first reading the opening remarks. Welcome to the virtual meeting for the Committee of Adjustment for the Township of Central Frontenac. I would first like to thank the members of the public, the committee members, and the staff for making this meeting possible so that we can proceed with the processing of applications in a safe manner. Just so members of the public are aware, all public members are muted on our end and your cameras will not be turned on. For those of you who may be new to the Committee of Adjustment, my name is Sherry Wan and I am the chair of the Committee of Adjustment, sorry. We also have joining us Francis Smith. Hi, Francis. Victor Hees. Hello, Victor. Hello. Brent Cameron. Hi, Brent. Tom Dewey is also joining us. Dewey.
Thanks, Sarah.
Hi, Tom. Do we have Cindy Kelsey as well? Okay. Sure. And Philip Smith this evening will be joining us. Cindy Diekman is our deputy clerk and will be assisting us as the meeting host. And we are also joined by planning staff. Only the Committee of Adjustments video will be on. The format of the meeting will follow the agenda posted online, which can be found on the Township's website. And staff have also prepared a presentation for everyone to follow along with during the meeting. And this will be shown on the screen. If you have joined us via the phone, we encourage you to open up the presentation in the agenda and follow along. For each application with a public hearing, we will follow this format. And I, as the chair, will introduce the file so that everyone knows where we are in the agenda. And the planner will provide an overview of the application. We will then ask if there are any comments or questions from the applicant or their agent. The committee members will then be asked, and staff and the applicant and their agent questions if there are any. The public will then have the opportunity to ask questions, and I encourage you to ask any questions that you feel comfortable with in this process. The committee will then deliberate and vote on the application, and voting will take place with the members of Committee of Adjustment raising their hands. I will then state whether or not the vote was carried. If there are any previously deferred items, they will first be on the agenda, and as the public meeting has already been held for those. We will then ask if the applicants themselves have any questions. All members of the public will have an opportunity to provide comments on the new applications. And if the person or public body does not make any oral submissions at the meeting or make a written submission to the Township of Frontenac before a decision is made, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision. Township staff will be in touch following the meeting and will be forwarding a copy of the decision within 15 days to the applicant and anyone who has requested to be notified. Should you have any questions after the meeting, we encourage you to reach out to our staff. The applicant, the minister, or any other person or public body who has an interest in the matter may, within 20 days of making the decision or date of notice of appeal to the Ontario Land Tribunal against the decision of the committee by filing with the Secretary Treasurer of the committee a notice of appeal. The Ontario Land Tribunal is not accepting appeals at this time, and if there is an appeal to an application, the staff will notify you of this and what the process will look like. And I will now ask Cindy Diekman to provide an overview of how members of the public can participate.
Thank you, Madam Chair. When the meeting is open to the public, the chair will ask a member of the public if they have any questions or comments. Members of the public will be asked to use the raise hand feature at the bottom of your screen. This alerts the chair that you would like to speak. Staff will notify the chair that someone would like to speak and then proceed to unmute your microphone. And as a member of the public, you will receive a notification that your microphone has been unmuted. Please wait a second after unmuting before speaking. If you are calling in by phone, please dial *9 when you would like to raise your hand during the meeting. You will hear a prompt on the phone that you have raised your hand, and you will be notified when your microphone has been unmuted. This afternoon, it looks like we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 members of the public participating with us online at this time. Back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Cindy. In the unlikely account that a committee member disconnects from the meeting will proceed if the quorum is met and the committee member will attempt to reconnect. Should all members of the committee disconnect, the meeting will be postponed and all members will be asked to reconnect. If the meeting cannot be restored within 15 minutes, the meeting will be postponed and staff will be in touch with each applicant. A notice will also then be posted on the township social media, letting you know. We thank you for your patience as we all embark on this virtual meeting. Okay, thank you. So I have a motion to approve the agenda. Is there any discussion or any comments on the agenda from anyone this evening? Okay. I have a motion moved by Philip Smith and seconded by Victor Heath that the agenda be adopted as presented. All in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you. Okay. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest by any members of the committee this evening? Okay. Hearing none, will be noted in the minutes. And I have a motion to approve the minutes. Is there any discussion on the minutes or any corrections? Okay, seeing none. All in favor?
Moving it and seconding it, Sherry.
I'm
A mover
sorry.
and a seconder.
Oh, mover and
I'm
seconder. Sorry. I have a motion moved by Victor Hees and seconded by Tom Dewey that the minutes be approved as is. Thank you. Sorry. All in favor? Okay, motion is carried. Thank you. Are there any deferred items on this evening's agenda? Okay, seeing none, I'll go ahead and read our first application.
Do we not have a number of deferred items? I thought there were quite a few.
Oh,
The previously deferred application.
for previously deferred applications, sorry.
All right.
Okay, thank you, Victor. Okay. Our first application is it's a B1321 HI, LaRock and Dugan, and it's the creation of a new lot. And I'll have Crystal introduce the application and then Jenny and Dimitri can speak to the application.
So application B1321 HI and B1421 HI are for LaRock and Dugan. They're located off 38 Highway just outside of Parham, and they're to create two new lots, one with a right of way, and Jenny will speak on it.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is application was previously deferred for a number of reasons, and I will describe the revised lots at this point. So the numbers on the screen here are for the revised lots that take into account the concerns expressed by conservation and septic previously. So it's for two parcels. The first one will be approximately 3 hectares or 7.5 acres in area. The second will be about 1.91 hectares or 4.7 acres in area, with the retained parcel being 2.64 hectares or about 6.5 acres in area. This next slide shows the original configuration of the lots, with the severed parcel A at the top, severed parcel B, and the retained parcel at the bottom. One of the concerns that was noted previously was that there was this house that was constructed on the subject lands that was actually owned by the person who owned this parcel. As you can see, that would be a concern with regards to the lot lines and the locations. Additionally, the lot line between severed parcel A and B was determined to bisect a wetland per RBCA comments during their site visit. We move on to this next slide. You can see on the left is the revised sketch showing an alteration to the boundary between severed parcel A and B, which relocates that lot line south of the identified wetlands, which alleviates the concerns from the Conservation Authority with regards to that bisection. Severed parcel B is going to gain access from 38 via a right-of-way over this small triangle area, which, as you can see on the air photo, is the existing entrance to the subject property. So this slide just notes the number of different concerns and how they are addressed, including access to the retained parcels Public Works have confirmed that there is an ability for an entrance to severed parcel A directly from Road 38, with the right-of-way being proposed for access to the retained and severed parcel B. Again, I've noted that the lot line between parcels A and B was relocated to the south as to not bisect the wetlands, which was a concern expressed by the Conservation Authority. New test holes were dug for severed parcel A, as there was also concerns with the amount of available soil and the area for septic suitability with regards to that. Those new test holes were dug, and the septic went out and did a re-inspection and have no objections to the revised location for that septic system on parcel A. They had no concerns with regards to the septic system on parcel B initially, so there was no revision of inspection for that parcel. The location of that dwelling has been rectified through legal matter. I'm not entirely sure. Lawyers have done that and transferred ownership of that area of land around the house to the person that actually owns and lives in the house. So it's no longer part of the subject property and doesn't impact these applications. As I noted, revised comments from Township of South Frontenac in July regarding the revised location for that septic system indicated no objections, though as frequently happens, additional soils are going to need to be imported for septic systems on both parcels. RBCA was circulated on the revised location, with that lot line being located to the south between parcels A and B, and have confirmed that they have no objections now that that lot line has been relocated. They are satisfied that it is not going to impact the wetlands. There was a public comment from a neighbor regarding the locations of existing livestock facilities located on the opposite side of Road 38. While they're not in use at this time, MDS calculations were performed based on the assumption that they could be used in the future, and it was confirmed that the required setbacks were met with regards to creation of these lots, and that development on these parcels would not impact the ability of the farm operations to continue. Based on all of these revisions to the concerns expressed earlier and comments from the agencies, planning staff are now recommending approval of both applications as revised per the revised survey sketch and subject to the conditions in the planning report.
Okay, thank you very much, Jenny. Do we have any questions from the applicant or their agent?
I would ask if the applicant does want to speak, to use the raise hand feature. Just a moment, I will move you over. Okay. All right, Mr. Duggan, there you go.
I I have no comments, but thank you very much. And hello, everyone.
Hello.
And that's it.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dugan. Do we have any comments or questions for any of the committee members? Okay, not seeing any. Do we have any members from the public joining us, Cindy?
I'd ask if there's any members in the public who wish to speak, to use the raise hand feature. I see none, Madam Chair.
Okay, then I'll go ahead and read the motion. I have a motion moved by Tom Dewey and seconded by Francis Smith that consent application B1321 HI LaRock Dugan for the property located at Part Lot 22, Concession 3 in the Geographic Township of Hinchenbrook to create a 3 hectare or 7.5 parcel as a new lot be approved, subject to the following conditions, or to the conditions noted in the planning report. That the Secretary Treasurer shall issue the notice of the decision in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act, including and providing the notice of decision to the applicant. Any person or public body that made a written request will be notified, and any other person or public body prescribed, and that all conditions outlined in the notice of the decision shall be completed and the certificate of official issued within a period of 1 year after the notice of the decision was issued as required by the Planning Act. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you. Okay, and I'll go ahead and read the next application, which is LaRock and Dugan as well, the creation of a new lot. And Jenny also spoke to this application. I have a motion moved by Tom Dewey and seconded by Philip Smith that consent application B1421HI LaRock and Dugan for the property located at Part Lot 22 and Concession 3 in the Geographic Township of Hinchenbrook to create a 2.18 hectare or a 5.4 acre lot as a new lot together with the right-of-way that will be approved subject to the conditions noted in the planning report. That the Secretary Treasurer shall issue the notice of decision in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act, including and providing the notice of decision to the applicant, any person or public body that made a written request to be notified, and any other person or public body prescribed, and that all conditions outlined in the notice of the decision shall be completed, and that the certificate of official issued within a 1 year period after the notice of the decision was issued as required by the Planning Act. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you. Okay. Our next application is B4221HI Cogan Row. I'll have Crystal introduce the application, and then Jenny or Dimitri can speak to the application.
So B4221 is for Colgan, is to create a right-of-way. It's off of Echo Lake Road. It goes to Echo Lake. Jenny is speaking on this one.
Thank you. Yes, this application is for the establishment of a right-of-way over an existing road, plus the extension to that right-of-way to facilitate access to a waterfront parcel. Sorry, my mouse was on a different screen here. So this is the benefiting parcel here. This existing right-of-way is used to access a number of waterfront lots along Echo Lake. However, it did not meet up to this benefiting parcel. The reason for that shown on this survey is that the benefiting lands do have an existing deeded access, this green area identified as Part 3 on the survey. However, due to the presence of wetlands and other natural features in the area, it's not ideal for development. Rather, they are looking to gain access over the existing roadway, which is identified as Part 8 on the survey, plus an extension to the end to meet up with their property. This is the original proposal shown in red here. When the Conservation Authority went out to do the inspection, it was determined that there are areas of wetlands within this red area here that made it challenging to create the extension to the right-of-way within the surveyed area. They requested deferral at that time pending revised application. The applicants did come in and revise the application to increase the area as shown on this slide. So you can see the blue hatched area is where the initially proposed extension was to be located. This larger pink area is where the revised right-of-way is now proposed. The reason it's going to encompass this entire area rather than just the path of the right-of-way, as it makes the most sense with regards to the land use and not having small parcels, as most of this blue hatched area is going to be wetlands anyway. It's subject to right-of-way over this whole parcel. However, the traveled road will extend from the end of the existing road along the side here where I'm showing, and then around the wetlands in order to access that parcel. This revised right-of-way has been reviewed by Quinte Conservation and they have no objections. They did not issue formal comments. They just noted in email that provided the right-of-way had sufficient area to be constructed outside the required 30-meter setback from those wetlands. They had no objections to the continued use of the existing road with this expansion to access the benefiting parcel. One of the conditions recommended in the planning report and by planning is that since this right-of-way shown here in yellow, the fairly long one, serves to access a number of properties, about 13 or so, with this spur in green also accessing a number of properties, none of which have proper addressing, and this is not a named lane. So per the township civic addressing policy, anything that accesses more than 2 lots is to become a private named lane. So planning staff are recommending that as a condition of approval of this extension to the right-of-way for access, that this access becomes not 1, but in fact 2 private lanes per the policies of the township for access and being addressed per the civic addressing and 911 policy. This ensures that not only the road is accessible to emergency vehicles, but that properties can be appropriately located should they have need of such things. Whereas that was expressed as a concern by the applicants that once you get in there, it can be hard to find your way around. And in fact, the Conservation Authority noted that when they were in doing their site visit, they did have some challenges finding out exactly where they were going and what was going on initially until they had the property owners helping them out. So this application was not circulated to South Frontenac for septic inspection, as we're not proposing any new development and there's no septic systems located near the existing right-of-way or in the vicinity of the proposed extension. Quinte Conservation has noted initially expressed concerns with the wetlands in the vicinity of that extension. However, since the right-of-way area has been extended outside and there is sufficient area for setback to the wetlands for that laneway construction, they no longer have any objections to the establishment of this easement. There were several comments from neighbors, both previously and with regards to the revised location. Questions looking at the distance to the setbacks. It is the understanding of planning that most of these questions and concerns have been addressed. We did attempt to further explain as some of the locations were a bit challenging. It is a large area and we're looking at a very small extension with regards to the length of the existing right-of-way. So those concerns were taken into account, and I said the location of the new right-of-way around the wetlands does relocate this road extension farther from the rear of the properties of the neighbors that did have concerns with that increased traffic. Based on the revised location of the right-of-way and the comments from the agencies, planning staff are recommending approval of this application as revised with the enlarged right-of-way area. And it says subject to conditions in the planning report, but I'd like to apologize. I did not include those conditions in the planning report. So Sherry will get the lovely task of reading them all out into the meeting here for you to make sure that we have addressed all of the concerns. And I can answer questions with regards to those at that time.
That's great. Thank you for all those conditions, Jenny. Does the applicant or the applicant's agent have any questions regarding the application?
The moment I'm going to move them over. Okay. Linda, can you unmute? There you go.
There we go. We don't have any questions. We just hope that it's acceptable. We definitely want to make the area safer for the individuals who are in there. So we have absolutely no objections to, applying for lanes and getting the emergency numbers in there, as it should be all along, right? So, but that's it. We hope that we've made it satisfactory for everyone, and we appreciate your time.
Oh, thank you very much for your comments. Do we have any questions for any members of the committee regarding the application? Okay. Seeing none, do we have any members from the public joining us with any comments or questions regarding the application?
We do, and I'm going to move Louise Morin over. Okay, can you unmute and speak?
Hi there, it's Louise Morin Shea. I was at the last meeting in September, as my property is part 1 on the diagram, where the first proposal was where the wetlands are behind my property line. At that time, well, first of all, let me say, when I left that meeting, I was under the impression that when the meeting was be deferred, that we would also get an opportunity for comments. But we only received notification of this meeting at 8:45 this morning. And it was not, my neighbor, Pete Pelche, checked online last week and he said he saw no meeting scheduled. And also we didn't receive the conditions until 3:25, as Jenny explained. So I really don't think there's been enough time for all the interested parties to read the document, because I found it very confusing. And when I sent an email this morning with questions, and I have to thank Jenny and Crystal for getting back to me so promptly with their explanations. And they did send amended diagrams because some of the diagrams had been sent without labels on them. So I had no idea what that blue hash mark behind my property meant. And so again, and I was speaking to my neighbor of part 2, Peter Pelche, who works on a road company in Ottawa, and he unfortunately can't attend this meeting because of prior work commitments. He also has concerns because he has had no time to read the document. And when we left that meeting, I was also under the impression that the new road was going to be going across from part 3, where there is already a rudimentary trail ATV track. But from the drawings in the new package, it looks like it's going right across from Mr. Pelche's property. And the other sketch that was included in the property was a very rudimentary line drawing that somebody drew freehand. It wasn't included in this presentation, I see, but Mr. Pelche had questions about that too, because there's a measurement from his driveway that he has no idea what that means. So we're still very unclear about where this road will be leaving the main road. So I have that concern. And again, I want to tell Jenny that, you know, we spent most of the day emailing back and forth today. So neither one of us got any of our real work done. But yeah, we're really, Mr. Pelche is very concerned that he doesn't have a chance to comment on this and would like it deferred. And like I say, it's a 456-page document, of which we are a very small part. But trying to dig that out on your phone this morning was pretty, I just don't feel comfortable that we've had enough time to adequately look at it. So either clarification on where the actual road's going to be, because I don't think you can build a road from the sketch that was supplied in the package. It's not a survey.
Sorry, Jenny, would you like to address any of these issues with Ms. Moran?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I can address that. One of the recommended conditions that I've included is to have the survey draft submitted to the township in advance of any registration. So that way it can be circulated for review by both township and conservation staff to ensure that it can be, the right-of-way can be constructed within the surveyed area. Also, if I may, I can share my screen with an aerial photo that hopefully will help clarify where exactly this road will be. Just going to make sure I'm bringing up the right screen here.
Thank you, Jenny.
So based on this aerial, here is the property that's going to benefit. This lot right here is Ms. Moran's property, and then this one above it is Mr. Pelche's property. As you can see on this aerial imagery here, this is the area of wetlands that was noted by Conservation Authority that were not easily identified as they're not mapped, and sometimes these shadow areas are just trees, sometimes they're wetlands. So the initial area for the right-of-way was intended to be approximately this area here. As you can see, because the existing right-of-way is registered and surveyed all the way down to Ms. Moran's property. Because that encompassed sufficient wetland areas, the right-of-way was extended to include this whole large area over here. So the measurements, I believe, on the sketch that Mr. Pelche was referencing, we're just looking at the distance from the edge of that to where that surveyed area would be. And this is intended so that it comes out that along this path, sufficiently far from the wetlands and conservation, that it can be extended from the end of the existing roadway, which is actually more likely to come out from the property that actually abuts Mr. Pelche's rather than from his driveway, so a little bit further up, and then come straight down and around the wetlands to link into the property here on the waterfront. Hopefully that is a better explanation of exactly where that right of way is intended to be. And that's why I've requested or recommended that should the committee approve this, one of those conditions is that that draft reference plan is reviewed before it's deposited to make sure that it can be constructed in the area that was intended to be.
Thank you. That also brings up a question to me then, that if it looks like it is entering from across from part 3, that my next concern is that the owners of part 3 have also not had sufficient time to read the document. I don't know if they're here. As I know, Mr. Pelche could not attend, and I don't know, I believe their last name is Wallace. I just know them as Gordon and Kathy, but they live in the Toronto area. So I don't know if they've had sufficient time to look at this documentation and what it means to them. So that's my biggest concern, is that I haven't actually seen the survey, which I understand is going to be, will we get us an opportunity to see that new survey? And I'm just concerned that all involved have not had sufficient notice.
Yes. In general, surveys are not completed prior to the provisional consent granted by the committee, for the reason that boundaries can be adjusted, such as they were between the first time this came to the meeting and the second time. We've had some adjustments to boundaries. So a lot of the sketches are general, and we do our best to convey the intent of where we would like to see these things located. And that is why, as I said, I've recommended the inclusion of that review of the draft plan before anything gets deposited, to make sure that the survey that is finalized is what matches the intent of the decision of the committee.
The other thing was there didn't seem to be any new narrative. That was just the drawings, and the narrative was all from September. So that gave us a little bit of concern as well, because the narrative we were reading was the one that we had from the previous meeting. There was nothing new except for these 2 new drawings. And like I said, I just found it very unclear and confusing without having enough time to read it properly and all the parties involved. I understand this takes a lot of time, but it's kind of a permanent decision.
Yes, and I can appreciate that. And as I said, that was my error in not having the conditions included. There wasn't changes to the report, as the discussion on the existing right-of-way and the naming of the lanes and the things like that remained unchanged from the previous one. The only change was the width of the proposed right-of-way. And again, that was my error in not putting those conditions in sooner. So I do apologize for that.
I just I'm speaking for Mr. Pelche. He asked me to ask that he would like more time. And Ms. Smith, I really like your cat.
And he likes to be on Zoom meetings.
I know, I wish mine was here. Anyway, Mr. Pelche asked me to express that concern from his point of view. Because he was not, I asked him if he was satisfied with the other documents that came at 325, and he said he's not really satisfied. And he also is not, he's worried about the Wallaces, whether they've had sufficient time to make comments if they had any. Because I know the other people along the road are kind of like, yeah, I read something about it, but it doesn't really affect me.
I see, Francis, that you have your hand up as well. Do you have a comment?
Yes. I believe that we would be wise to defer this for another month in order to give everybody a chance to look at what is going to be on the land. I think that's probably the fairest thing to do, since the folks didn't get the conditions ahead of time. Hopefully we can deal with this in our November meetings, so that something could be built either late in the fall or early in the spring. So I would move to defer the decision on this one tonight.
Thank you. We don't mean to be obtuse, because we realize that they need access to their land and they're building it. We just want to make sure we understand what's going to happen before all of a sudden we have, big tractors on our lands and the road. We also are concerned that if there's damage to the road during this construction, who's responsible for that? Because the road is not in the best of condition, as we brought up at the last meeting. So, and I had a question today, which Jenny answered. I was like, how can a property have two right-of-ways? But that was also in the conditions that once the new right-of-way is given, the previous right-of-way will be released. So again, I was saying there's a lot of questions that I had that I got answered, but I don't know if other people have had the same opportunity. So I thank you, Ms. Smith.
Madam
Okay,
Chair, I will second that motion. I would like to ask a question with regards to the property that where the new right of way is going across. The landowner there, are they in agreement with this new roadway going through there? Is that any?
The applicants are the landowners.
Oh, they are. Okay, sorry. Okay,
Yes.
fair enough. Okay, then I second the motion of the mayor.
okay. So thank you, Tom, for that. I do have a motion prepared already with Francis and Brent. Just making sure that the rest of the committee is in support of deferring, changing.
Madam Chair, as the seconder of the motion you have on the paper, I'm in full agreement. If the will is to defer, I certainly think that that is a reasonable thing to do at this point.
Okay, I'm not hearing any comments otherwise from the rest of the committee, so I'll go ahead and read the motion. But are there any further comments from the applicants or their agents before I go ahead and read the motion?
Okay.
If there's anyone else who wishes to speak, please use the raise hand feature. And Linda, I see your hand is still up, but I don't know if that's still from before, or whether you had new comments.
I do.
Okay, Linda, go ahead.
Am I unmuted now, Sherry?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. First of all, like the right of way that we're hoping to achieve, it goes far around the Shays and Palchay's property and wouldn't impede any construction or any type of roadway. So it's far enough away. The end result is going to be 310 feet to my daughter's property. And that's what we hope to achieve the right of way, is so that my daughter can build a cottage there. So it's over our property. We are hoping to go far enough away from everyone. And I can't see how really one vehicle is going to really bother them in the future, as far as it'll be a beautiful right away into their property. It'll be serene and quiet, and it will not be intrusive to anyone. So we're just hoping it's accepted at the next round.
Okay, thank you very much, Linda. So I'll go ahead and read the motion so that we can give a bit more time for some of these issues to be resolved. I have a motion moved by Francis Smith and seconded by Brent Cameron. The consent application B4221 HI Cogan for the property located at Part Lot 16, Concession 7 in the Geographic Township of Hinchenbrook to create a wider way to be deferred. All those in favor? Okay, let's see everybody. Motion is carried. Okay, thank you, everyone. Okay, the next application that we have is B4521 HI Mori, and it is for the creation of a new lot. I'll have Crystal introduce the application, and then Jenny could speak to the application.
So application B45, 46, and 47 are to create 3 new lots for Mori. They're located on Second Lake Road, Oak Flats Road area. So I guess Jenny can take it from here.
Thank you. This is, I will speak to all 3 of these applications at the same time. So it's for the creation of 3 new lots with frontage on Second Lake Road. As Crystal noted, this is a property that has frontage on both Oak Flats Road and Second Lake Road. This application was previously deferred due to concerns expressed by the Conservation Authority. Again, wetlands that were visible on site that were not visible on our mapping. This is something that is common. So yes, it does come up. Usually we're good at catching it. We don't always, however. So the 3 lots are proposed to be 3.5 hectares, 0.79 and 0.85 hectares in area. So the southernmost lot will be the largest at about 8.65 acres. And the other two will be about 2 acres in area, with the retained parcel being about 37 acres in area. This diagram shows the original layout on the right with the revised layout on the left. So you can see that the overall lot area being taken from the subject property is the same. However, what the applicant did in their revision was to shift the lot lines north slightly for both of the interior lot lines. So reducing the sizes of the two northern lots slightly to just meeting the minimum requirements for rural creation, and enlarging the southernmost one so that there is sufficient area outside the identified wetlands to meet the setback for development. These revisions were circulated to Quinte Conservation, who have no objections now that there is sufficient area outside that identified wetland for development that meets the 30-meter setback. This diagram here shows the overall property and the layout of the lots with the 1, 2, 3. All of these were circulated to Township of Frontenac for septic review, and they were not circulated until the revised lot lines had been completed to ensure that the test holes were dug in the appropriate location for review. Based on comments dated September 24th, there was no objections to any of the lots as proposed. All sites were flexible, and additional granular soil will be required, as is common throughout the Frontenac area. Again, as I noticed, Quinte Conservation initially had comments, but have no concerns now that these lot lines have been adjusted. There were no public comments received with regards to this application. Based on the revised location of the lot lines and the comments from the technical agencies, planning staff are recommending approval of all 3 of these applications as revised and subject to the conditions in the planning report.
Thank you, Jenny. Do we have any, either the applicant or an agent for the applicant joining us with any questions or comments on any of the 3 applications?
Don't believe the applicant is on, but if there is anyone representing the applicant, you can use the same feature. I see none, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you, Cindy. Do we have any comments or questions from any member of the committee? Okay, I'm not seeing any. Do we have any members of the public wishing to speak to the 3 applications?
Please use the raise hand feature if there's anyone who wishes to speak. I see none, Madam Chair.
Okay, then I'll go ahead and read the motion. I have a motion moved by Brent Cameron and seconded by Tom Dewey that consent application B4521 HI Mori for the property located at Part Lot 3, Concession 7 in the Geographic Township of Hinchenbrook to create a 3.7 hectare or 9.12 acre parcel as a new lot be approved, subject to the following conditions noted in the planning report. That the Secretary Treasurer shall issue the notice of decision in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act, including providing the notice of the decision to the applicant or any person or public body that has made a written request to be notified, and any other person or public body prescribed, and that all conditions outlined in the notice of the decision shall be completed and the certificate of the official issued within a period of 1 year after the notice of the decision was issued as required by the Planning Act. All in favor? Motion is carried. I have the second application, that Jenny has discussed as well. I have a motion moved by Francis Smith and seconded by Tom Dewey that consent application B4621 HI Mori for the property located at Part Lot 3 and Concession 7 in the Geographic Township of Hinchenbrook to create a 0.57 hectare or a 1.42 acre parcel as a new lot be approved, subject to the conditions as noted in the planning report. That the secretary treasurer shall issue the notice of the decision in the accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act, including providing the notice of the decision to the applicant and any person or public body that made a written request to be notified, and any other person or public body prescribed, and that all conditions outlined in the notice of the decision shall be completed, and that the certificate of the official is issued within a period of 1 year after the notice of the decision was issued and as required by the Planning Act. All in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you. I have the third application, which is moved by Victor Hees and seconded by Philip Smith, that consent application B 4721 HI Mori for the property located at Part Lot 3 and Concession 7 in the Geographic Township of Hinchenbrook to create a 0.59 hectare or 1.46 acre parcel as a new lot be approved, subject to the following conditions noted in the planning report. And that the secretary treasurer shall issue the notice of the decision in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act, including providing the notice of decision to the applicant, and any person or public body that has made a written request will be notified, and that any other person or public body prescribed, and that all conditions outlined in the notice of the decision shall be completed, and that the certificate of the official will be issued within the period of 1 year after the notice of decision was issued and required by the Planning Act. All of those in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you. Okay, we're moving on to applications for consent. And our next application is B 5021 HI, and it's Emery, the creation of a new lot.
So it's for the creation of a new lot. It's located at Fourth Lake, Fifth Lake Roads. And Dimitri's going to speak on it.
Thanks, Madam Chair, and thanks, Crystal, for the introduction. My name is Dimitri. I'm a planner with the County of Frontenac. So as Crystal just pointed out, the consent application B 5021 proposes to sever a 24 hectare or a 59.6 acre parcel from an existing 164 hectare or 405 acre lot located at 1003 Fifth Lake Road in the Geographic Township of Hinchenbrook. The lot proposed to be severed is located on the northwestern extent of the property with approximately 310 meters or about 1,017 feet of frontage along Fifth Lake Road and approximately 386 meters or 1,267 feet of frontage along Fourth Lake Road. The lot proposed to be severed is developed with an existing dwelling and what appears to be 4 accessory structures. The retained lot will be approximately 140 hectares or 348 acres in area with approximately 850 meters or 2,788 feet of frontage along Fourth Lake Road. The retained parcel is vacant with the residential development anticipated. Both the proposed severed and retained lands are designated and zoned as rural in the township official plan and in the township zoning bylaw. So the one thing to note about this lot or the proposed lot is to be severed is that it actually consists of 3 separate parcels that will need to be merged on title prior to the severance. The key to this application will be the proposed closure and sale of an existing township road allowance that runs between concession 8 and 9. And I've outlined this in the black hash mark here. So the merger will need to happen between this parcel and the larger parcel that's described by the portion of the severed and the retained lands. It is under our understanding that a request to close and sell the road allowance was approved in principle by council on September 28th of this year. For this severance to proceed, the applicant will be required to meet all the conditions of the road allowance closure, including the merger of lands, before this severance can be finalized. In terms of technical comments, the application was circulated to Quinte Conservation Authority in the Township of South Frontenac. The Township of South Frontenac were unable to comment on the application because the septic test holes were not dug during the inspection. So as a condition of this application, the applicant would be required to provide an inspection report that basically states that the retained lands are capable of supporting a septic system prior to the creation of the lot proposed by this application. The Quinte Conservation Authority did not object to the application, but they did identify the presence of several wetlands, watercourses, and small water bodies, as you can see in the ortho photo here, on both the retained and the severed parcel. QCA staff determined that there's enough area on the retained lands to establish a development envelope that's sufficiently separated from natural heritage features as well as natural hazards. Additionally, although no specific livestock facilities were identified by the applicant in the area, to ensure compliance with the provincial policy statement, county staff did minimum distance separation calculations for nearby buildings that resembled livestock facilities. The MDS calculations showed that even under maximum capacity conditions, the retained lands contain sufficient area for a new residential use that's sufficiently separated from the identified potential livestock facilities. So all this considered, planning staff are recommending that the Committee of Adjustment hears comments from the public and approve this application as submitted, subject to the conditions outlined in the staff report.
Thank you very much, Dimitri. Do we have the applicants or the applicant's agent with us wishing to ask any questions or make any comments regarding the application?
We do have the applicant on. Mr. Emery, would you like to speak? You can use the raise hand feature. Just a moment. I'll move you over. Okay. If you can unmute, we should be able to hear you. Go
Hi
ahead.
there.
Hi, Mr. Emery.
No, I don't think I have any questions. I read through it pretty thoroughly, so, and it was explained pretty well, so.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your comments.
I'll make sure I get all the things done.
Okay. And I'm sure you'll be sent a copy of all of the conditions.
Yeah, I believe, so.
Okay.
All the conditions, we're working on them right now.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much, Mr. Emery.
Thanks.
Okay, do we have any comments or questions from any member of the committee regarding the application? Okay, hearing none, do we have any members of the public joining us this evening that would like to comment regarding the application?
If there is anyone wishing to speak, can you please use the raise hand feature or *9 if you're by phone? I see none, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. I'll go ahead and read the motion then. I have a motion moved by Brent Cameron and seconded by Tom Dewey that consent application B5021 HI Emery for the property located at Part Lot 19, Concession 9 and Part Lot 19, Concession 8, part of road allowance between Concession 9 and Concession 8 in the Geographic Township of Hinchenbrook to create a 24 hectare or 59.62 acre parcel as a new lot be approved, subject to the conditions noted in the planning report. And that the Secretary Treasurer shall issue the notice of the decision in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act, including and providing the notice of decision to the applicant, any person or public body that had made a written request to be notified, and any other person or public body prescribed, and that all conditions outlined in the notice of the decisions shall be completed, and that the certificate of the official issued within a period of 1 year after the notice of the decision was issued, as required by the Planning Act. All those in favor? Okay, motion is carried. Okay, I have our next application, which is the 5121 OS Commodore, the creation of a new lot. And Crystal will introduce the application, and then Dimitri or Jenny can speak to the application.
So it's for Commodore, creation of a new lot, and it's off 509. Jenny's going to speak on it.
Thank you. This application is for creation, as Crystal noted, of one new lot with frontage along Road 509. The proposed severed parcel will be approximately 38.2 hectares or 94.5 acres in area, with the retained parcel approximately 51 hectares or 126 acres in area. On this next slide, as you can see, the severed and retained lands are primarily naturally vegetated. There is a house on the retained and will remain with the retained lands. The severed parcel will be vacant. No residential development or anything else proposed at this time. The property was reviewed by Township of South Frontenac for septic suitability, and they have no concerns with regards to the location of a septic system. They said that both the seven retains are flexible with regards to setting a system, especially given the size of the properties. Mississippi Valley Conservation Authority also said they had no objections to the proposed severance. as there's sufficient area for development outside any of the identified natural heritage features, which included a number of small water bodies, water courses, unevaluated wetlands, most likely as a result of beavers and other things in the area. But there was sufficient area for development, so they had no objections to this severance. There were no public comments received with regards to this application. Planning staff are recommending that committee adjustment hears any comments from the public with regards to this application and approves the severance as submitted.
Okay, thank you, Jenny. Do we have the applicant or an agent representing the applicant with us wishing to comment?
If there's anyone wishing to comment, please use the raise hand feature. I see none, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Do any members of the committee have any questions or comments regarding the application? Okay, seeing none, I'll move on and ask if there are any members from the public joining us this evening with any comments or questions regarding the application.
And again, if there's anyone wishing to speak, please use the raise hand feature now. I see none, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. I have a motion moved by Francis Smith and seconded by Victor Heath that consent application B5121OS Commodore for the property located at Part Lot 22, Concession 2 in the Geographic Township of Oso to create a 38.2 hectare or a 94.4 acre parcel as a new lot be approved, subject to the conditions noted in the planning report. That the Secretary Treasurer shall issue a notice of decision in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act, including providing the notice of decision to the applicant, any person or public body that has made a written request to be notified, and any other person or public body as prescribed, and that all conditions will be outlined in the notice of the decision shall be completed, and the certificate of the official issued within a period of 1 year after the notice of decision was issued, as required by the Planning Act. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you. Okay, moving on to our next application is item B5221OS McMahon Lot Edition. And I'll have Crystal introduce the application and
So application B5221 is for a lot addition and it's located off Zealand on McVeigh Lane and it runs to Silver Lake. And Dimitri's going to speak on it.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Crystal. So consent application B5221OS proposes to sever a 5.7 hectare or 14 acre lot addition parcel for the benefit of an existing undersized waterfront property located at 1018 Hoyle Lane East in the Geographic Township of Oso. The subject property that the lot addition parcel will be severed from is located just north of Silver Lake at municipal address 1015 McVeigh Lane. The lot is approximately 22.1 hectares or 54.6 acres in area, with approximately 572 meters of frontage along McVeigh Lane and 28 meters of frontage along Silver Lake. The lot addition parcel to be severed will be 5.7 hectares or 14 acres in size, with approximately 302 meters or 990 feet of frontage along Hoyle Lane East, which is a private road. The lot addition parcel is vacant with conservation uses and accessory residential uses anticipated. The parcel to be retained will be approximately 16.9 hectares or 40 acres in area, with approximately 572 meters of frontage along McVeigh Lane and 28 meters of frontage along Silver Lake. The retained parcel will contain all existing development, which consists of a dwelling and 4 accessory structures, and there is no new development proposed for the retained lands at this time. The property that will benefit from the lot addition is an existing undersized lot of record that's about 0.24 hectares or 0.58 acres in size, with approximately 49 meters or 160 feet of frontage on Silver Lake. The benefiting lands are currently developed with an existing dwelling and an accessory structure. So just for your context, the lot addition parcel is outlined right here in red. And the benefiting lands are outlined in green. So if this application were to be approved, this green parcel will encompass the entirety of this area. In terms of technical comments, the application was circulated to the Mississippi Valley Conservation Authority, who did not oppose to the application. They noted the presence of a wetland, a watercourse, and organic soils on both the retained lot and the lot addition parcel. The applicant has been advised through the conditions attached to the report that any development within 30 meters or 98 feet of any wetland will require a permit and prior consultation from the MVCA. Since the application does not propose any development that requires a sewage system, this application was not circulated to the Township of South Frontenac. There were no public comments received on this application. So as outlined in the staff report, the lot addition parcel is zoned rural while the benefiting lands are zoned as waterfront residential. After the severance and lot addition takes place, the benefiting lands will be split zoned. So best zoning and land use practices dictate that lands should not be split zoned as they can present technical challenges to both the township and landowners. In this particular case, the rural zone allows for many more uses of various intensities that are not permitted under the waterfront residential zone. Some of these uses include like an array of dwelling types, commercial greenhouses, agricultural related commercial and industrial uses, group homes, places of assembly, etc. The waterfront residential zone, on the other hand, permits uses that are less intense in nature. These uses include things like a variety of dwelling types, bed and breakfast, home-based businesses, and stuff like that. Since the uses permitted under the waterfront residential zone are more restrictive than the rural zone, planning staff recommend that this lot addition parcel be rezoned from rural to waterfront residential as a condition of this application. This recommendation is supported by the intent of the official plan because the lot addition parcel is located entirely within the waterfront district as described by the official plan. In addition to that, Silver Lake has been identified to be at capacity by the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks. Specifically, section 3.6.31 of the Township official plan states that development within 300 meters of an at capacity lake should be limited. Since the applicants have indicated that the lot addition parcel will be used for conservation purposes and for potential storage, a storage shed and a vegetable garden, planning staff are of the opinion that the rezoning will not hinder the applicant's plans for the property. So overall, to conclude, planning staff are recommending that the Committee of Adjustment hears comments from the public and approve this application as submitted and subject to the conditions outlined in the staff report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dimitri. Do we have any, do we have the applicant or an agent representing the applicant wanting to comment or have any questions on the application?
If we do have the applicant on or an agent, please use the raise hand feature. I don't believe there is. I see no one, Madam Chair.
Okay, thanks, Cindy. Do we have any questions or comments from any member of the committee? Victor?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just have a question about the rezoning. I know that the process of applying for rezoning has a fee attached to it. Are we going to be demanding that they pay this fee to rezone, or are we going to absorb that?
Sorry, Victor, I'm just going to see if Jenny or Crystal could comment to that question.
If I may.
Oh, sorry, Dimitri.
Yeah, no problem, Madam Chair. So I can't really speak on finances and how the township should process and whether or not they should exempt applicants from zoning applications. However, rezoning is a standard practice when it comes to severances or sometimes minor variances when the minor variance is deemed to be too large to be processed by minor variance. If that's the case, the typical procedure is to require the applicant to pay the fee associated with a rezoning application.
Thanks, Dimitri.
Madam Chair, I have moved over a phone number. I believe it's Mr. Craig Yu, who is the owner, I believe, of the benefiting parcel.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Mr. Craig Yu, you are muted. If you want to speak, can you unmute? Try *6 or *9. There we go.
Yes, I'm unmuted, am I?
Yes, you are. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm only here as a representative of the beneficiary. The applicant is actually had a death in the family, so he's unable to attend. and I'm here to answer any questions anybody might have. But I have no problem with the way things are being done. We just didn't expect to have to pay for the rezoning, so that is a surprise. But please continue. Thank you very much. Bye.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Do we have any other members of the committee that would like to ask any questions or have any further comments regarding the application? Okay, seeing none, do we have any members of the public joining us that would like to comment on the application?
If there is anyone who wishes to speak, please use the raise hand feature. I see no one, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. I have a motion then moved by Philip Smith and seconded by Tom Dewey that consent application B5221 OS McMahon, I apologize if I'm not pronouncing that correctly, and Moses for the property located at Part Lot 19, Concession 7 in the Geographic Township of Oso for a 5.7 hectare or 14 acre lot addition be approved, subject to the following conditions noted in the planning report. That the Secretary Treasurer shall issue the notice of the decision in the accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act, including providing the notice of decision to the applicant, any person or public body that has made a written request to be notified, and that any other person or public body prescribed. And that all conditions outlined in the notice of the decisions shall be completed, and the certificate of official shall be issued within a period of 1 year after the notice of the decision was issued as required by the Planning Act. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Okay, our next application is B5321 KE Mastinesk creation of a new lot, and is recommended that this application be deferred. So I'll go ahead and have Crystal introduce the application, and then Dimitri or Jenny can speak to the application.
So there's application B5321 Kennebec and B5421 Kennebec for Maston. They're for the creation of 2 new lots on Price Road, and Jenny will speak of it.
Thank you, Crystal, Madam Chair. As you noted, this is well, it's 2 applications actually for the creation of 2 new lots. Severed Parcel 1 will have frontage on both Price Road and Hughes Road as it is on the corner. Severed Parcel B, apparently I'm going for 1 and B, sorry about that. That's fantastic. So the one under also 35 and not 53, sorry. So apparently I had some problems with some typing. Anyway, so the Severed Parcel B will be only having frontage on Price Road. It'll be approximately 1.95 hectares in area. And Severed Parcel, the first one, approximately 1.8 hectares in area, with the retained lands being about 2.1 hectares in area. So all parcels will be fairly equal. There's a hydro easement that runs through the middle of this property that I will show on the next image, perhaps. Nope, I did put it in the report. Okay, so you can see on this aerial here, this cleared area here is the hydro easement that was noted on the survey sketch submitted with this application. It is a registered easement. However, given the size of the properties, including after severance, is not anticipated that that hydro easement will have any impact on the developable area. So the subject property actually is fairly interesting in that there are small portions of the property actually that are tied in with it located on the south side of Price Road. This is because Price Road was originally considered a forced trespass road. It is now in township ownership. However, these small remnant parcels on the south side of the road with frontage along Big Clear Lake do remain part of the property. Recommendation of planning staff is to include them as noted here. The larger of the triangles goes with the first severance that has frontage on both Hughes Road and Price Road. The smaller on the other end of the property going with the retained lands, and the middle severance not having any of the frontage on the south side, mostly just because there is none that line up with that. It just made sense based looking on a land map. This application is requested to be deferred by both Quinte Conservation and the Township of South Frontenac. I believe there was some delay in the digging of test holes, and further Quinte Conservation was unable to get out and complete their site visit with sufficient time to provide comments for this meeting. As a result, they have requested deferral of the application until they can do their site visit, and similarly with South Frontenac until they can conduct a full review of septic suitability. Based on those comments, at this time, planning staff are recommending that committee hear any comments from the public, if there are any, and that these applications are deferred until the technical agencies have had an opportunity to conduct their full review.
Okay, thank you very much, Jenny. Do we have the applicants or an agent representing the applicants joining us with any comments or questions?
We do. I'm going to move you over, Ms. Mastanek, and there you go.
Okay, am I unmuted now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, it's Mastanek. I know it's a funny last name.
Oh,
I do have a couple of questions. In regards to the small little parcels of land on the other side of Price Road, when we were in the township office discussing this, there was some discussion of the township expropriating them for a road allowance. Will that still happen, or will we be able to still retain those pieces of land?
Thank you. If I may address that, I know that was a discussion. At this time, it appears that most likely you'd be able to retain those pieces of land. Would look at putting in a recommended conditioner for road widening. That is something that can be further discussed with Public Works going forward. But as it that was one of the options, the smaller piece with the retained lands. There is a potential that when the road widening is measured included as a standard condition, we'll measure any of the center lines. You know, if we can't achieve that 20 meters, small portions can be taken. It is likely that based on the road width, that one may be incorporated into the road. The other larger one may or may not. And that is something that you can discuss with Public Works if you'd like to retain them or include them in any road widening.
Okay. As well, we're trying to make the arrangements to get the septic holes dug. There was a question of us showing where we're going to put the driveways on the 2 new plots of land before this is approved. Do we have to do that?
It would be ideal, as entrance locations will be evaluated by Public Works. They generally go out, and if there's any concerns with regards to specific entrance locations, they do ask that you mark them. If there's good sight lines and good topography, they often would not necessarily have a specific location. That's something I would recommend coordinating with Public Works. I do believe there may be some concerns with regards to a hill, and that way, if there are any entrance concerns, it potentially could be addressed through a shared driveway or alternative access routes.
So are we allowed to have a shared driveway then on the two new lots?
There are provisions within the zoning and official plan policies that you can have a shared driveway, sort of an A-B situation with a reciprocal right-of-way, depending on the situation. So again, if there's some topography concerns or access concerns, there is an opportunity to potentially have a driveway shared between 2 of the properties, either the retained in the next one or perhaps the 2 separate properties, depending on the situation on the ground.
Okay. We do have have some lot markers set up on the property to show where the lots are for the septic holes and for Quinte Conservation. But our question is, right now they're approximate. Can they be, once we're getting the survey done, can they be changed from where they are now, or is that where they're going to be?
I mean, marked lot boundaries, again, at this time are approximate. We do ask if you're going to mark them, you do it to the best of your abilities. Obviously, we understand that none of us are Ontario land surveyors, so the final locations will be determined at that time. And that's why generally I would recommend any draft plans are submitted for review before finalizing at Land Registry, just to make sure that there's no concerns in case you need to adjust lot lines or other things during the survey process.
Okay. I believe that's all the questions that I have.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. Do we have any comments from any member of the committee or any questions on the application? Okay, seeing none, do we have any other members of the public that would like to speak to the application?
If there's anyone wishing to speak, please use the raise hand feature. I see none, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. I'll go ahead and read the motion. I have a motion moved by Brent Cameron and seconded by Victor Heath that consent application B 5321 KE Mastanazek, part lot 17, concession 10 in the geographic township of Kennebec to create a 1.8 hectare or 4.42 acre parcel as a new lot be deferred until the Quinte Conservation Authority has had an opportunity to conduct a site visit and provide comments, and that the proposed lots have been evaluated for septic suitability with comments provided from the approval authority. All those in favor? Okay, motion is carried. And Jenny spoke to the second application, which is also with Ms. Master's-Neck. So I apologize for not being able to pronounce that. So I have a motion moved by Tom Dewey and seconded by Brent Cameron that consent application B 5421 KE Master's-Neck, part lot 17, concession 10 in the geographic township of Kennebec to create a 1.95 hectare or a 4.84 acre parcel as a new lot be deferred until Quinte Conservation Authority has had an opportunity to conduct a site visit and provide comments, and that the proposed lots have been evaluated for septic suitability with comments provided from the approval authority. All those in favor? Okay, motion is carried. Our next application is B 5621 HI Haycock, and it's the creation of a new lot, and it is being recommended that the application be deferred. So I'll just have Crystal speak to the application, and then Jenny or Dimitri can introduce the application.
So there's application B 55 and B 56 Haycock to create two new lots. They're located off Rainbow Road, and Jenny is going to speak on them.
Thank you. This application is noticed for creation of two new lots. First lot will have an area of approximately 2.37 hectares or 5.86 acres. Second one approximately 1.95 acres or 4.84 acres, so about 5.5 acres each, with the retained parcel being a similarly sized at about 5.1 acres. They will have frontage along both Rainbow Road and the lake here. Sorry, my mouse has gone crazy. I will show you here. So as you can see, the subject parcel is outlined in red. Discussed during the pre-application meeting was the fact that Rainbow Road kind of wanders outside of the surveyed road allowance area. And the purple shown on here is the anticipated road widening parcel, which is quite a bit larger than what would be standard. However, it again makes sense to include everything between the existing surveyed road allowance and the traveled portion to the west of Rainbow Road, rather than leaving any small slivers or other sort of remnant parcels. This was discussed with the applicants who were in favor of this. So severed lot 1 is in blue here, and severed lot 2 is the green hatched above it. At the time of the writing of this report, comments had not been received from either Rideau Valley Conservation Authority or the septic review. Subsequent to that, comments have been received from Conservation, however, I had not had an opportunity to review those, and comments have yet to be received with regards to septic suitability. Based on this, planning staff are recommending at this time that we hear any comments from the public, and that the committee defers both of these applications until such time all comments have been received and reviewed.
Okay, thank you very much, Jenny. Do we have the applicant or an agent representing the applicant with us this evening?
If there's anyone representing the applicant, please raise your hand if you wish to speak. I see no one, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Are there any members from the committee that would have a question or comment regarding either of the applications? Seeing none, do we have any members from the public wishing to comment on either of the applications?
If you can use your raise hand feature if anyone wishes to speak. I see none, Madam Chair.
Okay, then I'll go ahead and read the motion. I have a motion moved by Tom Dewey and seconded by Francis Smith that consent application B5521 HI Haycock Part Lot 19 Concession 4 in the Geographic Township of Hinchenbrook to create a 2.37 hectare or a 5.86 acre parcel as a new lot be deferred until comments have been received by both Rideau Valley Conservation Authority and the Septic Approval Authority. All those in favor? Okay, motion is carried. We have a second application, and that is moved by Brent Cameron and seconded by Victor Hees. The consent application B5621 HI Haycock Part Lot 19 Concession 4 in the Geographic Township of Hinchenbrook to create a 3.26 hectare or an 8.5 acre parcel as a new lot be deferred until the comments have been received from both Rideau Valley Conservation Authority and the Septic Approval Authority. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you. Our next two applications are both by Cabronero, and they are both for the creation of a new lot. It is applications B5821 KE. Oh, sorry, I jumped ahead there a little bit. Our next application is actually B5721 OL Barker, and it is the creation of a new lot, and the recommendation is that it be deferred. I'll have Crystal introduce the application, and Dimitri or Jenny can speak to the application.
So it's for the creation of a new lot together with the right of way. It's located on Frontenac Road, just off Highway 7, and it's for Barker. And Dimitri is going to speak on it.
Thanks, Madam Chair and Crystal. So yeah, as application B5721 OL proposes to create a new lot together with a right of way on a property located just south of the corner of Frontenac Road and Highway 7 in the Geographic Township of Olden. The subject property does not have a municipal address, but it's described as part lot 16 East, Olden Concession 4. The lot proposed to be severed will be 2.73 hectares or 6.75 acres in size, with approximately 200 meters or 656 feet of frontage on Frontenac Road. The retained parcel will be approximately 35 hectares or 87 acres in size, with approximately 150 meters or 492 feet of frontage on Frontenac Road. The right-of-way proposed together with the severed parcel will be contained on the proposed severed lot, and it will follow an existing travel driveway that provides access to the rear of the retained lands. So planning staff are recommending deferral of this application until a concurrent minor variance or zoning bylaw amendment is submitted to reduce a sensitive land use buffer that's outlined in section 4.23I of the zoning bylaw. Section 4.23I states that no sensitive land uses shall be permitted within 500 meters or 1,640 feet of a waste management facility measured from the lot line of the sensitive land use to the lot line of the waste management facility. So the proposed lot line of the lot to be severed is located approximately 640 meters from the lot line of the existing township owned waste management facility. I made a little buffer here that shows the 500 meter buffer from the waste management facility that's located just off Olden Park Road there to the top left of your screen. As you can see, the buffer encompasses basically the entire frontage of the proposed severed parcel. So because of this, the proposed severance application does not comply with section 4.23I of the zoning bylaw. To vary this buffer, planning staff require a D4 study prepared by a qualified professional that will ensure that there are no negative impacts or there will be no negative impacts on the proposed sensitive land use as a result of the waste management facility. Once the study is complete, planning staff will be able to advise if the variance of the separation distance can be achieved through a minor variance or if it requires a zoning bylaw amendment. All that considered, planning staff recommend that the Committee of Adjustment hears comments from the public and defer the application until a D4 study is complete and a concurrent minor variance or zoning bylaw amendment is submitted to support the reduction of the setback outlined in section 4.23I of the zoning bylaw. Thank you.
Thank you, Dimitri. Do we have the applicant or an agent acting on behalf of the applicant joining us this evening?
We do, Madam Chair. I'm just going to move them over here. And Colby, can you go ahead?
Hi there, it's Colby Barker. I just had a few questions. I'm going to be building my house at the back of that lot, the very rear of the lot. And the dump is across Highway 7 and across Frontenac Road. So I don't really feel like spending $5,000 on 40 meters. So can I just skip right to the bylaw zone amendment?
I will have Dimitri speak to that for you, Colby.
Thanks, Madam Chair. As stated in the staff report, I'm recommending deferral of the application until a minor variance is submitted with the D4 study in support of that. I mean, when you're looking at a variance of a lot line setback or like a front yard setback, that's one thing. When you're looking at a setback distance from something that may have an impact on human health, such as slopes or waste management facilities or quarries, those reductions need to be supported by some kind of study that's undertaken by a qualified professional. In this case, I do appreciate that the house is most likely going to be located away from that buffered zone. However,
yes,
the zoning bylaw is very clear in its statement, and it does say that the setback is measured from the lot line of the sensitive land use to the lot line of the waste management facility. So in this case, because that lot line of the proposed, or because of the distance from the lot line to lot line, it doesn't comply with section 4.23I of the zoning bylaw. However, as I've outlined in the staff report, the official plan does take a less restrictive approach to the provisions of the zoning bylaw. However,
right,
in order for that to be varied, it is our opinion that a D4 study is required to support this application.
right. So I've already reached out to about 6 companies that all say that you guys recommended, and they say that they don't do this study. So I'm just at a loss at this point. Where I'm going to build a house is on a hill, and the Mountain Grove dump is down in a pit pretty well. So I don't think there's any concern about sloping or anything like that.
Through you, Madam Chair, it's Sonia Bolton. If I could speak, if that's all right.
Of course, Sonia, go ahead.
Hi, thanks. For Colby's benefit and those else who are listening that may not know me, I'm the manager of community planning. So I just wanted to add, in addition to what Dimitri had said, there is a requirement. These requirements stem from provincial guidelines. So that's not only something that is in the township's bylaw and official plan, but these are intended to follow provincial regulations. And at the end of the day, it's intended to protect the township from liability by creating a lot in an inappropriate location. It does sound as though there are probably some mitigating circumstances and some things that we could do to help Colby out. We're still recommending deferral, but what I wanted to say to Colby and to the committee members were that we're happy to work with him and whatever consultant he retains to scope that study. If there are some easily attainable mitigating factors, such as the location of where he's going to put the house, that can help lessen the length or the depth of the study that needs to be done, we're happy to help work with him to do that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Sonia. I hope that's reassuring for you, Colby.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions coming from you, Colby, regarding the application?
So there's no way I can just skip the study and just do a bylaw zone amendment?
No.
No, okay, perfect.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Do we have any questions or comments from any of the members of the committee regarding the application?
Victor has his hand up.
Okay, I see that. Thank you. Go ahead, Victor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I was looking at that, and I understand that it is from the lot line to the lot line, and it's 460 meters, just 40 meters within that area. It must be very frustrating for Colby, because he's going to be building at the back of his lot, and the Olden waste site is not at the lot line. It's way, way, way back. So I did a quick measurement using the Frontenac maps, and from the front of the proposed lot line to about where the actual dump is almost 800 meters. So, I mean, I'm really sensing Colby's frustration. He's more than 700 meters away. The minimum distance is like 500. Is there any way that we can accommodate him without what Sonia suggested was trying to scope the study as narrow as possible to reduce as much cost as possible. Is there any way we can keep Colby from having to spend a lot of money for something that basically it's just we're following the letter of the law, not following the intent of the law?
Would any of the planning staff be able to answer Victor's question?
Gary? Yeah, through you, Madam Chair. I mean, I'll let Dimitri speak to this as well, but certainly, unfortunately, the zoning bylaw, I mean, it can only be varied through specific mechanisms. So we do require something from a professional that would allow us the leverage to make that mitigation and make that change through either a minor variance or a zoning. But it could be something as simple as a 2-page letter. It may not be a full-blown study. So as I said, we do need something that we can use as the background information to justify the change to the zoning, and we'll work with Colby to find out what that should be, and make it as painless as possible.
Thank you, Sonia.
Thank you, Sonia. Francis?
Yeah, what I heard Colby say was he's tried to get a number of folks to do this study, but couldn't find anyone. So maybe our planning staff could help find someone who could do this kind of study, or work with Colby to find someone.
Through you, Madam Chair, we're happy to do that. I mean, we can't hire it for him or recommend a specific consultant, but I think I'll speak with Dimitri before we reach out to Colby. But one of the things we might be able to do is reach out to our colleagues at the Ministry of Environment and see if they have any suggestions on how best to proceed.
Good, excellent.
Thank you. Any other members of the committee have questions or comments regarding the application? Okay. Do we have any members from the public with comments regarding the application?
If there is anyone wishing to speak, please use the raise hand feature. I see no one, Madam Chair.
Okay. I have a motion moved by Philip Smith and seconded by Francis Smith that consent application B5721 OL Barker, part lot 16, concession 4 in the Geographic Township of Olden to create a 2.73 hectare or a 6.75 acre parcel as a new lot, together with a right-of-way, will be deferred until the applicant has completed the study that the planning staff has recommended. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you. And our next two items are B5821KE and B5921KE, and they're Cabernero, the creation of new lots. And the recommendation is that they would be deferred. I'll have Crystal speak to the application, and Dimitri or Jenny can introduce it.
So it's basically the creation of 2 new lots, as Sherry said, and Sonia is actually going to speak up.
Thank you, Crystal. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Yes, this is an application for the creation of 2 new lots in Concession 8, Lot 10, the former Geographic Township of Hinchenbrook. Currently, the subject property is addressed as 5347 Arden Road and is developed with a residential dwelling on the property. Both of the proposed severed parcels are to be approximately 6.8 hectares or 16.8 acres in size. One will have approximately 100 meters or 328 feet of frontage along Arden Road, with the second lot having approximately 104 meters or 341 feet along Arden Road. The retained parcel would have an area of 11.9 hectares or 29.4 acres and would retain 638 meters or just over 2,000 feet along Arden Road. All of the existing development would be with the retained parcel of land. Currently, the entire subject property is designated in the rural area in the township's official plan and is currently zoned rural in the township's zoning bylaw. The subject property has a great deal of natural vegetation on it, including some unevaluated wetlands. So you can see here on the screen, at the north end is parcel number 1, parcel number 2 in the middle, and then the retained parcel would be the southern portion here that would contain the existing dwelling. The purple outline here is just showing the extent of the 60 meters where all of the public notices were sent to. We are currently requesting a deferral for this application. The applications were circulated to Quinte Conservation Authority for review, but they have requested deferral until such time as they have had an opportunity to visit the site and provide written comments. We do have comments also from the Septic Authority at South Frontenac. They are satisfied that there is enough and sufficient room to site septic systems on the 2 proposed lots. The retained parcel, of course, has an existing system, but given the amount of unevaluated wetlands and the concerns expressed by Quinte Conservation, staff are recommending that this evening the committee hear comments from members of the public, but then we recommend deferral of the applications until such times as we do get written comments from the Conservation Authority. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sonia. Do we have the applicant joining us or an agent acting on behalf of the applicants?
We do have the applicant. Do you wish to speak? You can use the raise hand feature if you do. Just a moment. Okay, I've moved you over. If you can unmute yourself. Go ahead. Go ahead. We're having trouble hearing you. You are unmuted. You might need to adjust your volume.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I guess the only comment I have to make at this time is that Quinte Conservation will be conducting a site visit on November the 3rd. And I guess there's nothing else we can do until we get their report. So I want to thank every one of you for listening to us today. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for your comments. Do we have any questions or comments from any member on the committee regarding the application? Tom?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The only comment that I have to make is that I believe Public Works should be looking at these 3 lots because where the Arden Road comes down past those lots, it's on a curve. And I'm concerned about sight lines there, and I say I hope that Public Works will be looking at that, or at least that somewhere down the road they're going to have to look at it.
Public Works have already looked at them lots, Tom. They had dug test holes and kind of had spots where they went in. They may not be the perfect location, but there is good locations for entrances there. It is on a curve, but it's a weird curve where you can kind of see both ways.
Okay, Sonia.
Okay, thanks, Crystal. Any other member of the committee have any questions or comments regarding the applications? Okay. I have a motion moved by Tom Dewey and seconded by Philip Smith that consent application B5821 KE Cambronero, Part Lot 10, Concession 8 in the Geographic Township of Kennebec to create a 6.8 hectare or 16.8 parcel as a new lot together with a right-of-way be deferred until the Quinte Conservation Authority has had time to conduct a site inspection and provide comments. All those in favor? Motion is carried. I have another motion moved by Victor and seconded by Brent that consent application B5921 KE Cambronero, Part Lot 10, Concession 8 in the Geographic Township of Kennebec to create a 6.8 hectare or a 16.8 acre parcel as a new lot together with the right-of-way be deferred until the Quinte Conservation Authority has had time to conduct a site inspection and provide comments. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Okay, our next application is B6021HI, and it is Gossage, the creation of a new lot. I'll have Crystal introduce the application, and then one of our planners can speak to the application.
So it's for the creation of a new lot, and it's off of Westport Road, and Sonia is going to speak on it.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Crystal. Yes, this is for a property in Concession 1 at part lots 3 and 4 in the Geographic Township of Hinchenbrook. The subject property is currently addressed as 841 Westport Road. The severed parcel would be approximately 0.86 hectares or 2.1 acres with 140 meters or just under 460 feet of frontage along Westport Road. The retained parcel would be just over 5.5 hectares in size, or approximately or just under 125 acres. It would retain just under 800 meters of frontage, or 2,623 feet on Westport Road. The entire subject property is designated as rural area and is zoned rural in the township's zoning bylaw. There is a nearby licensed pit. However, the severed parcel that is proposed is outside of the required 70-meter separation distance and also outside of the 300-meter area of influence. So therefore, no additional studies or reports were required as part of the severance application. The map here shows the retained parcel in blue with the proposed severance in red, and again with the orange boundary just showing the 60-meter distance for all of the notifications that were sent out. In terms of comments that have been received, comments from the septic inspectors at South Frontenac indicate no objections to the proposed severance. The inspection staff noted that the proposed lot is capable of providing flexibility in the location of the siting of the sewage system. Quinte Conservation Authority also has indicated no objections to the applications. They have noted, though, that the owners will need a permit from the Conservation Authority for any development that is proposed within 45 meters of any wetland boundary. In terms of public comments, to date, we have received one letter of support from a member of the public, which I believe was included with the report and the package this evening. Based on the information presented and the review that staff has done, we are recommending approval of the proposed severed parcel in conformity with the conditions that have been outlined in the staff report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sonia. Do we have any, do we have the applicant or an agent acting on behalf of the applicant wishing to speak to the application?
We do have the applicant on. Just a moment, I'll move you over. Okay, if you can unmute. Perfect, go ahead.
Hi, I just wanted to say thank you for pushing this severance through to people that were involved and to Brent and Crystal as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your comments. Do we have any questions or comments from any members of the committee regarding the application? Philip?
Just on the package we have, there seems to be a pink line that goes up the edge of the proposed severed lot, and I'm just not sure what that is supposed to represent, because I don't see it on the larger map that shows the entire property.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My understanding is that that is the driveway to the pit that is located to the north of the subject properties. So for some reason, the licensed area of the pit includes the driveway. It's rather odd, but that is the situation in this case. However, my understanding is that all the distances that would be required for setbacks have still been met, even with that driveway being taken into consideration.
Thank you, Sonia. Are there any questions from any other members of the committee? Okay. I'll go ahead and read the motion. I have a motion moved by Francis Smith. Oh, sorry. Do we have any members of the public joining us that would like to comment on the application?
If there is anyone wishing to speak, please use the raise hand feature. I see none.
Okay, thank you. So Sorry about that. I just jumped ahead a little. I have a motion moved by Francis Smith and seconded by Victor Heath that consent application B 6021 HI Gossage for the property located at part lot 3 and 4, concession 1 in the geographic township of Hinchenbrook to create a 0.86 hectare or 2.1 acre parcel as a new lot be approved subject to the conditions noted in the planning report. That the secretary treasurer shall issue the notice of decision in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act, including providing the notice of decision to the applicant or any person or public body that made a written request to be notified, and any other person or public body be prescribed. And that all conditions are outlined in the notice of the decision shall be completed and the certificate of the official issued with a period of 1 year after the notice of decision was issued as required by the Planning Act. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Okay, thank you. And our next application is an application for minor variance. And it is application number A1321 Northy to reduce the front yard water body setback. And I'll have Crystal introduce the application and then one of our planning staff will speak to it.
So it is A1321 for Northy. It's located off Clancy Lane. It is do numerous addition idea things, and Jenny will run through it.
Thank you, Crystal, Madam Chair. As noted, this is an application for minor variance. This is an existing undersized lot of record that has a cottage already constructed on it. They're looking to do multiple additions. Well, kind of one large one and a couple smaller ones, and I will outline those here. So there's a proposed living room addition with a little fireplace pump out, which is to be located here. That'll be approximately 14 by 18 feet, so an area of about 267 square feet. It does not show the tiny fireplace pump out, but that is included in that area shown on the screen. On the water side of that proposed living room is a deck that is to be uncovered and unenclosed with an area of approximately 112 square feet, which will mirror the existing uncovered unenclosed deck on the opposite side of the existing cottage. So then they will have a deck that runs across the length of it, making it equal on both sides, with the center deck actually projecting further out. So the proposed deck will have a minimum water body setback of approximately 14.6 meters, which is just under 48 feet. The second addition is a bedroom addition. So the cottage currently has a single bedroom, single bathroom, and this reconfiguration of the layout would relocate the bedrooms and bathrooms to this area. It would increase the number to 2 bathrooms and 3 bedrooms, which allowed for a better use of space with the kitchen in the existing cottage. So the bedroom addition would be 28 by 28 square feet at the back. It'll also include a lower level with area for services that they need for the cottage, including sump pump to address any concerns for water flooding, heating, things like that, as well as a small rec area to the rear. Behind that is proposed to be a lean-to or carport for storage of whatever they choose to put in it, most likely cars and things like that, as this proposed bedroom addition is to be constructed in the area that is currently used for the driveway and parking area. Additionally, they're looking at a small entrance, screen, porch, and stairs to be located in this area with a total square footage of 96 square feet, and that's the porch and the stairs. That's just to be added on to the rear of the existing screen porch to facilitate proper entrancing into the cottage as part of the reconfiguration of this property. This application was circulated to Quinte Conservation Authority for review, especially given the proximity to the water of the existing cottage. Comments received September 28th indicate that the Conservation Authority has no objection to this application as submitted. Conservation staff are satisfied that there's sufficient area for this development to take place outside of any natural or flood related hazard. They did note, however, that a permit for construction, including site alteration, fill, excavation such as that, would be required for any of the construction that's located within 45 meters of the high water mark of Horseshoe Lake. As I noted, these construction of the additions, especially the bedroom ones and the lean-to carport at the rear, to be constructed in an area that is very limited vegetation, as this is used as a driveway and parking area. Similarly, along the side of the cottage where the living room is proposed, this is already more of a lawn and not such a natural vegetation area. The natural vegetation is concentrated along the shoreline and the waterfront of this property, and none of the construction proposed through this application will impact that existing shoreline or the vegetated buffer, which is also considered the ribbon of life, which helps filter the impact of human activity on the water, also aids in screening the property from the lake, maintaining that natural character, which is important to the township. This application was circulated to the Township of Frontenac for septic review. The applicants have installed a septic system that is suitably sized to accommodate both the existing cottage and the proposed additions. This was installed a few years ago, and the Township of Frontenac confirmed they have no objections to this application as submitted, and there's sufficient space between the rear of the proposed additions and the location of that septic system to meet Ontario Building Code requirements for spacing. There were no public comments received with regards to this application. Based on the comments received from the technical agencies and the review of the policies, planning staff are recommending approval of this application as submitted with the conditions recommended in the planning report.
Okay, thank you very much, Jenny. Do we have the applicants joining us this evening?
We do have the applicant. Mr. Northey, do you wish to speak? You can use the raise hand feature. Just a moment, I'll move you over. All right, you can unmute and go ahead.
Hi there, I'm here. Thanks very much. I have no comments or questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Northey. Do we have any comments from or questions from any members of the committee regarding the application? Okay, do we have any members from the public wishing to speak to the application?
I don't believe we have anyone left. If you do want to speak, you can raise hand feature. Oh, I see no one, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. I have a motion moved by Tom Dewey and seconded by Francis Smith that in making the decision upon this application, the committee considered whether or not the variance requested was minor and desirable for the appropriate development or use of the land, building, or structure, and that the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw and the official plan will be maintained, or in the case of a change in the use of the property which is lawfully non-conforming under the bylaw, as to whether or not this application has met the requirements of subsection 45(2) of the Planning Act, concur in the following decision and the reasons for this decision. That the minor variance application A1321 Northey for the property located at Part Lot 8, Concession 5, Geographic Township of Kennebec, 1034 Clancy Lane, to reduce the front yard water body setback from 30 meters to 12.9 meters in order to build the additions as listed below, be approved, subject to the conditions noted in the planning report. 1, that the living room addition with the fireplace bump out to be located on the east side of the existing dwelling with an area of 24.8 meters. This addition will be in line with the rest of the enclosed living space with a water body setback of 17 meters. 2, that the living room deck, uncovered and unenclosed, will be located on the water side of the proposed living room addition with an area of 34.1 meters, and that this deck will have a minimum water setback of 14.6 meters. 3, that the bedroom addition to be located at the rear of the existing dwelling with an area of 72.8 meters, and that this addition will include 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms, plus a basement area for services and rec room, and that the existing cottage has 1 bathroom and 1 bedroom, which will be relocated into this proposed addition, allowing for a larger communal area with the footprint of the existing cottage. 4, that the entrance or screen porch and stairs to be located at the rear of the existing screen porch with an area of 8.9 meters. 5, that the carport to be located at the rear of the proposed bedroom addition with an area of 18.6 meters. This carport is labeled on the submitted sketch as a lean-to. And that the Secretary Treasurer shall issue the notice of decision in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act, including in providing the notice of the decision to the applicant, any person or public body that has made a written request to be notified, and any other person or public body prescribed. All those in favor of the motion? Motion is carried. Thank you. Do we have any other business that's coming forward to the committee this evening? Okay, seeing none, I have a motion moved by Philip Smith and seconded by Tom Dewey that this meeting be adjourned until 4 p.m. November 11th, 2021, and will be held virtually. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you very much, everyone.
Just a question, staff do work on the 11th? I don't remember.
Yes, we do.
Okay. And the
Unless you
county
choose to
staff
change
as
that.
well? How about the county staff?
For you, Madam Chair, as far as I know, we will be working on November 11th, yes.
Okay. Just thought I'd better check.
Good question, Fran. I was
Good
wondering.
night,
how to
everyone.
tell. Good night. Have a good evening.
Good night.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care, everybody.